All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Silicon Zombies BrainWaves on Pirate Cat Radio. That's 92.9 FM in Los Gatos and 101.9 FM in Santa Cruz. That's KMRT. Lovely to be here. We've got Ron and Niki Gastinel on the mic. Super psyched to have everybody here. What's up? What's up? I'm such a big fan of you guys today. It's going to be super fun. We're talking climate tech. Before we get into it, I want to do a shout out to our friends at Nicodex. That's NECODEX, Nicodex.com. If you need some support with staffing. So if you're building a product, if you're designing a product, and you need some help, those are the guys to talk to. Nicodex.com. Well, let's jump right in. The water's fine. Ron, Niki, thank you for joining BrainWaves here.
Hi, Nick. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really excited to be here.
Closer. Perfect.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. It's always so much fun to talk to you. We're really looking forward to having this conversation.
Thank you, Ron. Ron, you and I just ran into each other in San Francisco, maybe like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
What was that place?
It's 90 Climate Hub. Big shout out to 90 and the foundation that they're providing for this community to gather climate interested people. So it's a co-working space. That's where we met, at the co-working space.
Yeah.
And mostly climate professionals are co-working there. There are some venture capital firms that are co-working there, some companies that are taking space, not just as co-working, but taking formal office space there. And they have lots of event space, and they have, climate related events many nights per week. And make sure to send, it's 90.com if anybody wants to check it out. And I'm sure that Matthew and Duncan, the founders, would be psyched to have anybody come in and visit. They're they've already opened a location in Seattle, and they're looking to open another one in New York City.
Oh, it's a pretty cool building, right?
Oh yeah,
beautiful building. So, and then Niki, we were just hanging out last night, in fact.
Yes. Had a great time at your Silicon Zombie show, and one of these panelists was talking about gecko materials that can really make a big impact in sustainability. Their product is highly reusable. And one thing I want to add to 90, Ron just mentioned, Ron and I, we hosted a huge event last year during SF Climate Week. We brought more than 400 investors, founders, and ESG leaders from all over the world for an afternoon of knowledge sharing, collaboration, and happy hour. So we're going to do it again this year.
What is ESG, Niki? Can you kind of lay the table for us?
Environmental, sustainability, governance.
Oh, okay. And how does this differ than green tech? This is a trick question because we were just talking about.
Yeah. So ESG, I think, is a term that was used for a few years in the corporate America around environmental, either social or sustainability and governance. And for some reason, it got a bad rap, and so now they're
like politicized, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so now people, I think, are referring it more broadly to sustainability.
Yeah. Is it green tech maybe has better branding, or sustainability, I should say?
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess every time you create a brand in this political environment, it seems like somebody else is trying to redefine that brand as something else. So.
Steve Jobs says that brand is trust. And I like this it's very simple. It's like, and there's, you can either add to it or you can subtract. And so like when somebody buys an iPod or some, an Apple product, and they have like a great experience, you're adding to the trust brand bucket. Yeah. Niki, what are your thoughts? You're close to Apple. Give us a little bit more background. Let's zoom out. Actually, tell us, Niki, who are you and what do you like doing?
So I've been working in tech all my life. Have been in Silicon Valley for more than 20 years. I have worked at the tiny startups to now at the Apple, the world's largest company, most valuable company. And I'm very proud to be part of Apple. We're trying to get to net zero in 2030. And personally, I'm passionate about, sustainability, have children, want to leave the kids a better place that we inherited. So
Pass the torch.
yes.
That's nice. And that helps us have purpose as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what drew you to Apple? Or I guess, what were your impressions before you joined the team of the product, of the culture, of the people? It's a big decision. Like there's 5 big decisions in life. Our partner, a car, college, house, and there's one more. I know it. I'll think of it. Anyways.
So I'm a boomerang at Apple. I was at Apple from 2010 to 2019. So working business intelligence, and then I left and did some startups and various different adventures, and returned to Apple, joined the commerce engineering team. So 2 very different groups and different roles. So just, a lot of it is also timing. I consider myself pretty lucky.
Yeah.
So as you know, it's a great company to be part of. Also I really share the value
Niki's
that
being
the
very
company stands for.
very humble. She also created reports that went directly to Tim. So this is neat stuff,
Yeah, when I was working in the global business intelligence team, so we create reports, executive dashboards, literally for the top management to make better decisions and for forecasts and various, drive operation efficiencies.
Oh, very good, very good. And since we're on the topic, if you do like supporting community radio, we're in the middle of a frosty fundraising effort. And so feel free to go to donate.kpcr.org and chip in a couple shekels. We'd be grateful for that. And also, Ron, maybe paint the picture for us a little bit. What's your background? What gets you excited? What pisses you off?
A lot of things get me excited.
Where do I start?
Yeah. But I was when Niki was talking about being motivated to make the sustainability, to make the planet greener for in part for her kids. One of my kids, not really a kid, he's 28. I texted him right before the show when Nick told me that this was going to be streaming on YouTube. So one of my sons is tuning in.
Oh, cool.
From far away in Ohio.
Nice, very
Thanks
good.
to the technology you've employed here, Nick.
Hey, wonderful.
Yes.
Good to bringing families together and causing trouble. And nice. So I guess getting back to the there's a couple cool events coming up. Feb 25.
February 5th, Ron and I, we are hosting how to build a tech company in 2025. It's going to be a panel discussion at Redwood City. And another big event that's coming up during SF Climate Week, we will be hosting a 4-day summit called the Global Climate Solutions on April 25th. It's a Friday.
Okay. Global Climate Solution. Maybe you could give us a couple maybe a couple teasers of what it is like to build a company in 2025. We had Robert Scoble, and he was saying that that solo entrepreneurs are using AI to create like 10 different companies at once that are slightly different from each other, and then based on the feedback and growth, focusing on that one. So it's kind of like an interesting, I guess it's like diversification strategy, but kind of putting all that aside, what are some fun, interesting ways to grow a business in 2025?
Well, I think that AI is enabling a lot more innovation. Mm-hmm. People are building companies that used to take 10, 20 people with 2 people in AI. So it's enabling already a lot of new innovation.
Yeah.
When I think about there's so many different kinds of companies and different ways to go. My whole background has been in enterprise business to large business. Yeah. And while everything is open to innovation with generative AI, big strategic decisions at large corporations, the ability to embrace doing something new, in my opinion, is much more complex. You have to understand how the organization works, who does what, how decisions are made. So until we get some innovation in how decision making is done in large organizations, I think that there's going to be for a while a human element in getting a large enterprise to adopt new technology.
Do you think that maybe is changing though, from like the steak dinners and the golf trips?
Oh yeah.
To just being, hey, like let product win, and then doubling down on that. You know, like if a piece of software is say $100 with one company and $10 with another, and there's still margin on the bone, you know, that company's going to win all day. I would assume. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I think there's like software and hardware are slightly different. Software, people are used to trying new things in software, but at large corporations, they're trying to reduce the number of providers. And so it's harder and harder to get a new title into a large organization because they're looking at how many they have, and each one has to go through a security review. But the more nodes you have coming into your system, the more risks there are.
That's true. Do you think they're trying to decrease the number of providers because those providers they want them to kind of like aggregate and do more, or is it because they're building product internally?
I think from a logistical standpoint, they'd rather have less vendors.
Sure. Yeah.
So they're trying to cut back on the number of software vendors they have. Large enterprises.
Yeah.
Now it's different. Small, medium business, consumer, completely different, right? If I've got a consumer company and it's software, and I provide value, the product wins, right? It's product-led growth. It's one decision maker at a time. You can do it at mass scale. Same thing with small and medium business. Completely different kind of go-to-market and barriers or not barriers.
Yeah. Maybe product-led growth is a unique strategy that we'll learn more about on February 5, right?
Possibly.
Yeah.
I think we tend to look at. I mean, we're agnostic in terms of hard tech and software. But if you're going to make an impact on the climate, software can help a little bit on the margins.
Yeah.
But at the end, you've got to do something different with a physical molecule.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you want to impact the environment, and so it has a tendency to lean a little more hard tech, at least the stuff that we get exposed to. There's obviously software.
Can I play something, and I don't want to get your thoughts
As
here.
long as it's good.
Okay.
Sustainability tech
We're
focuses on creating failing efforts to pull CO2 directly.
These are some
from
new
the atmosphere.
technologies around this space.
2. Green hydrogen. Companies like H2 Green Steel are using green hydrogen to decarbonize heavy industries, including steel production. 3. Vertical
Okay,
farming with
so
AI.
let's stop there for a quick second. Niki, you were talking about how it's actually, I guess we both were kind of rapid about this, about like prevention versus like getting carbon out of the environment.
Out of the air.
The
Yes,
atmosphere.
absolutely.
What does that mean to you when you say kind of like take a proactive approach?
So yeah, it's as any problem, if we solve it early on, upstream at the source, the cost is lower. I just recently come across a company called Modern Hydrogen. This is so fascinating that basically what they use is use the existing natural gas pipeline. They install equipment, say at the gas station, so you can produce hydrogen right there. So the byproduct, they use heat. The byproduct is hydrogen and solid carbon. And it later on can be used for something else. So it does not put any CO2 in the air. And so it's the greenest form
Yeah,
of
that sounds like
energy.
way more
So
efficient.
that's super exciting.
Yeah.
The company is called Modern Hydrogen.
Modern hydrogen. Cool.
So you don't have to extract, use a lot of energy to pull CO2 out of the air. We just don't release it in the first place.
Yeah. And I mean, that makes sense just like from a pure logic perspective, but also the amount of energy that's required to capture something that's already been, like if you think like carbon is like X, count per million. And I think Tom had talked to us a little bit about that over dinner. Thank you for that awesome dinner, by the way. How did you meet Tom? And tell us a little bit about Tom Shi.
Yeah, I met Tom through a common friend, Ruby Ye, our shared friend. And believe it or not, he was one of the keynote speakers at our US-China Climate Roundtable, but he joined the remote. And we recently met in person at one of the events in Menlo Park when he was giving a talk. The topic was impact from idea to impact. That panel discussion. So he's so open to and just brilliant scientist and investor.
One of the things that really resonated with me, because I love the ocean and marine biology has always been kind of fascinating to me. So after he exited, because he was an executive at Google for a while.
Google X, yes.
Oh, Google X, that's right. So he moved to Hawaii and then was like snorkeling like daily. And he said that the reef outside of his house was like its own neighborhood. And his neighbors were the fish. I was like, man, Tom, you're the coolest. And then so he said that he noticed after year, the reef was dying. And that we got to do something about that because it's like a chain reaction. I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir to you two. But one of the things that in particular I thought was interesting is, taking, and I shared this with Tom, is you can crossbreed coral because certain flavors of coral are less susceptible to warm temperature, which is that's kind of like what happens when a lot of the coral dies off. So crossbreeding these new flavors of coral and then playing the sound underwater of like a healthy reef will attract 50% more fish. So like these things in conjunction can actually start to kind of regrow ecosystems. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Coral reef in general is super sensitive to temperature. Minus plus 2 degrees can have huge impact.
Yeah.
But this is a really interesting topic, Nick. Nature-based solutions. I mean, here in Silicon Valley, we don't talk about those that much because we're all about what's the latest tech.
Yeah.
But this uses tech, right? Finding the right species and then growing them and planting them in the right place.
Yeah.
To allow nature to regenerate itself in a different way. And there's a whole range of nature-based solutions.
What kind of other examples have you heard of? Because I don't know if that would be biomimicry, right? It's like learning from nature and kind of recreating in the lab. Is that what you're referring to?
That is also something that's super interesting. What I was referring to is different systems using the systems that nature has already created and the way that humans and nature have interacted for centuries.
I thought you were going to say screwed everything up. Well, that's good. Like these circular economies can be helpful.
Yeah. So before, super modern agriculture wasn't that long ago where animals would relieve themselves on the ground and that would be the fertilizer for farms. And it would be somewhat circular, right?
Yeah. But when I do it, I get in trouble.
Yeah, right.
What the heck?
Yeah. Depending on where you get
yes.
Although I did hear that Berkeley was trying to legislate that.
To allow it?
Yeah.
To fertilize
Yeah. Of course. Leave it to Berkeley.
Some exciting news from Berkeley recently, since I have a daughter at Berkeley, so I received these newsletters. One of the inventions from 2024 was they're able to vaporize plastics and turn into some useful commodity. That is super exciting. I'm going to follow that closely.
Wow.
As you know, microplastic is everywhere and it's in our body. And it's a huge health issue. Not only it's a environmental issue, it's a huge health issue.
Yeah.
I've
heard that's having a negative impact on reproductive health as well.
Correct.
and getting to like the blood-brain barrier. The good news is that we know this is a problem, so we can typically it's the things that kind of catch us off guard that tend to be the big challenges. But back to your daughter at Berkeley, I know she's a big fan of Andrew Huberman. So
Yes.
any listeners right here, if you please reach out to us if you can connect us to Andrew Huberman. She'd love a tour of the lab, right?
Oh, she will love that. And she's been actually interning at another neuroscientist lab. Is a famous scientist called Matthew Walker's sleep lab. So Sky been interning there. So
wow.
She's passionate about mental health.
Wow, excellent. And then I would imagine that there's some pretty interesting stuff that in the med tech space as well, right? So you had introduced us to Paul and some of the folks at the Stanford Oncology Wet Lab.
Yeah.
Can you share us a little bit more about what that experience was like and how you got to know these folks?
Yeah, I don't know how I got invited to one of these parties a few months back.
Niki knows everybody in Silicon Valley.
You can't keep track. We call those champagne problems.
You guys are
She's
so
such
much fun to hang out
Everyone
with.
wants to hang out with her, so she's involved in everything.
Exactly.
So when was that? A couple months ago, we had the opportunity to tour Dean Felsher's oncology lab at Stanford. They've been spending like a few decades trying to solve curing cancer, a variety of cancer, solid tumor especially. So and turn out Dr. Dean Felsher has been collaborating with my uncle in Beijing, who has the Beijing Genomics Institute.
Wow.
So the universe is truly very small. We are all so connected one way or the other. Our encounter is not random. I think the universe indeed has a plan. Yeah. And our paths will just keep on crossing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And even from a statistical perspective, there's 7 million people in the Bay Area, maybe, I don't know, 40 or 50,000 that are kind of consistently in the tech innovation, going out to the party. No, maybe a little bit more, but it's an interesting numbers game for sure. So what got you both interested in this space? Niki, you talked a little bit about passing the torch. In fact, there's a pretty interesting quote. What is it? I think I want to say it's Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. He said, "That is the true joy in life, being used for a purpose that's greater than ourselves, being a force of nature, instead of a sniveling, selfish clod of ailments and grievances, constantly complaining that the world will not bend to make us happy." I believe, it is my opinion that I belong to the whole of the community, and for as long as I live, it is my honor to be of service to it. And then passing the torch. I believe that life is no brief flame. It is instead a glorious torch that we have hold of for the moment. I want to pass it off. I want it to burn as brightly as possible before passing off to future generations. I think I screwed up 20% of that, but I like
that's
that.
Really
that's
impressive
so
that you remember so much of that.
It's on the back of my hand, right?
No, just straight from memory. That's very impressive.
That's beautifully said.
What about you guys? Back to you, Ron. What gets you excited about? Is it passion and purpose and profits, or what gets you excited about the space?
Well, that's a great question. So I spent I've had many careers. My first career was in finance. It's all about making money, trading, buying, selling stuff. Not very rewarding as a person. And then my second career was in energy, traditional energy, which when I got into it, I felt really good about it because, everybody likes to turn on the lights, have heat, air conditioning. But then, as I went through the course of that, Al Gore came out with this movie in I think around 07, 06, somewhere like that, called An Inconvenient Truth.
Sure, yeah.
He was the vice president for your younger listeners. He was former vice president of the United States. I was working in the energy industry at the time, and there was still some controversy, at least in the industry, about global warming and what caused it. And saw the data in his presentation, and I was convinced that, you know, instead of having worked for two of the largest coal burning utilities in the United States, making them hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, I decided, well, I should take my skills and do something positive for the world. You know, my kids were at that time pretty young. They were in grade school, and I'm like, what am I doing? I have all of this business talent. I know how to make money. I know how to grow things, and I should be using my talents to make the world a better place, make the economy
That's
greener.
beautiful. Yeah, because you can do both at the same time.
I think you have to do both, actually. Because in order to scale, things have to be profitable.
Yeah.
They have to provide value to the end user, because if they provide value and they're profitable, then the customers will want more of it. The prices of it will go down. You can increase demand even more.
People, exactly.
So it's about creating products and services that provide value for customers, and that allows you to scale these climate impacts in a way that government mandates and social pressure never can.
Yeah, because it's more it's like more of an authentic, sustainable driver, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think the other
Can I add
added
something?
oh yeah, please go
Yeah.
ahead.
So I personally believe, for selfish reason, if we breathe bad air or drink polluted water, we cannot be healthy. We will be sick.
Yeah.
So for our own health benefit, for our children and families' health, we need the planet to be healthy and clean. So that's one. And I also feel, you know, every other day there's a huge climate event. LA is on fire right now. Is that right? It's highly correlated to the, you know, the planet is heating up. I was in Beijing in November, and it was hot.
Wow.
And it should be freezing cold in November. So, and because the climate issue is so urgent and impacts globally everyone, I also think it's a huge opportunity. If we invested in the right startups, we're going to make a fortune.
Yeah.
So, so for all these reasons, I want to be involved and do my part.
Yeah, and you know, very well put. And I think we're kind of in a unique space where maybe there's a shift in consciousness, or, you know, whatever the case is, consumers, I feel, are becoming more aligned and do care about these their impact. So they're voting with their dollars. And so if you can create something that, for example, there was an entrepreneur that had created a water bottle that disintegrated in like 3 years, as opposed to the like 60 or 70 years. Yeah. Do you remember he was a zombie
To your event, Nick. You brought a lot of great people to your event.
Thank you. Well, it's neat to see kind of get like a unique energy, and, you know, it gets kind of a little easier to some degree because there's momentum. Just last night, we had folks from the Stanford Research Institute, SRI, and they had come and like, oh, we had no idea about zombies. And I was like, well, now you do. Let's do cool stuff together, you know, because they have all sorts of really smart people and
for sure,
you know, a lot of authors. So
yeah, you're totally right about that, Nick. My kids are now in their 20s, and they research the company, not just the environmental impact, but like the values of the company. They don't want to do business with companies that don't share their values.
Yeah, you know, just to kind of push back on the little bit, because I agree with you. That's like an ideal scenario. So my mom took me to China about like 10 years ago for my birthday, which was super cool. I was building a company with some Chinese friends, a co-working space called One Piece Work, co-working accelerator. And we scaled to 12 locations. We threw a lot of cool parties. But you know, I just remembered it's at the top of the half hour. So we got to do a quick station identification. I'm keeping us out of trouble here. Okay. You're listening to Silicon Zombies Brainwaves on Pirate Cat Radio. That's 92.9 FM in Los Gatos and 101.9 KMRT in Santa Cruz. And yeah, if you're feeling charitable, we're still in our Frosty fundraiser. So Frosty Friends fundraiser. I know there's a couple other F words in there. Nice F words.
The fun ones.
Exactly. So yeah, if you're just tuning in, we've got Niki Gastinel and Ron Erd, and we're discussing and exploring a little bit about sustainability tech and socioeconomic moves in the market and trends on how to create business. And it's really beneficial to have two really accomplished business leaders and storytellers on with us today. So Ron, right before that station ID, you just made a point. Can you refresh my memory?
Yeah, so I have two sons. They're both in their 20s, and they're they live on their own. They have their own jobs. They pay for their own stuff, and when they go to spend their hard-earned money, they research the companies whose products that they would consider buying. Yeah. And they don't buy products if they're not in alignment with the values of the company.
Yeah. And that's a good thing at scale, I would say. So there was a couple more of these. So the green hydrogen thing, I think it's like pretty fascinating. The vertical farming, super cool. In fact, here, let's jump back to this real quick, and then Niki, let's get your impression.
Sustainability tech versus green tech.
We're gonna fast forward here.
Focuses on technologies such as Climeworks and carbon engineering are scaling efforts to pull CO2 directly from the atmosphere. Two, with minimal water and land use, reducing materials science have led to compostable plastics and edible packaging, reducing reliance on traditional plastics. 6, blue economy solutions, technologies for ocean health, such as 3D printed coral reefs and plastic ink enzymes to restore marine ecosystems. 7,
I did hear that they had found in seahorses there were naturally occurring enzymes that were breaking down plastics. Maybe this could be a compliment to Niki, you said that they were using lasers to vaporize.
Right.
Yeah. And what about the edible packaging? Would either one of you eat edible packaging? I don't know if that's sanitary.
It depends how it tastes. If it tastes like crackers, I'll eat it.
Yeah. And so if either one of you were to create a product right now, what would you create, A, that's interesting, and then B, that you could lean in because of your kind of unfair advantage? I think that's a good foundation for companies when they're like, what should I build? Maybe it's something that doesn't exist in the market already. And then also what kind of unfair insights or relationships do you have? I know this is kind of a very vague question, but what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, so my background is in software and data. So if I were to build one, actually at one point I did came up with an environmental data platform by aggregating toxic release to the air, water, and ground, and come up with a score for every US location. So it's a little bit like the FICO score for individuals' personal health. I came up with a score for every environment based on all these toxic materials that's released near you. So so that was a fun project, and unfortunately I didn't find the product market fit, so I didn't take it further.
My guess is that maybe you might have been a little bit too early to the game, which is that's kind of a cool thing, because on one hand, it's not just product market fit, but the product or the future product market fit, or not the total available market, but the total available future market, like what's around the corner. I guess I'm curious, how did you approach data collection? Because I guess that needs to be automated in some capacity, right?
Yeah, build a lot of data pipeline. Believe it or not, this EPA has a ton of data, and local governments too. And you just have to be very resourceful. So yeah, that was not an issue, finding the data. And I was learning a ton from, when I talk about this topic, people would tell me, when I started the project, I didn't even know anything about so-called super fun sites.
Yeah.
And in the Bay Area, there were so many, these sites have been left from early days when we were building semiconductor industry. And so getting data was not so difficult.
Ah, okay. That's I guess, again, I kind of feel like a unique insight into a market that can be helpful.
The more you look, the more you find.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Niki, that's very insightful, and I think maybe you even undersold how resourceful you are.
Mm.
Yeah.
A gentleman and a scholar.
No, you guys are the
When
best.
Niki said I was resourceful, yeah, Niki's very resourceful.
I wish I had like an applause button. That'd be pretty cool. Speaking of applause, what else drives you, Ron?
What else?
I love getting applause myself.
What else drives me?
Yeah.
Well, I think we have this shared hobby. You're actually an expert, and I'm a beginner at surfing.
Okay.
And
Nice.
so
I don't know about expert, but I appreciate the kind words.
having moved to California in the last couple of years and loving the ocean, I realized in the Bay Area, if I want to get in the ocean, I have to get a wetsuit. So if I have to get a wetsuit, I might as well learn how to surf.
Yeah.
And it's been fun,
You give me like water dude vibes. Yeah.
even though I'm from the Midwest.
Yeah. It's in your soul.
Yeah.
It's speaking of which, I think people largely think like, oh, like the North Pacific, great white sharks, really scary. Yeah, I mean, the idea of like a suburban with teeth is like not exactly comforting, but
Like a vehicle.
yeah. But I think there's two things there. One of which is my friend Joel, who is something of a master in hypnotherapy. He told me every time you're out there and you're thinking of like your feet dangling in the water, like like hors d'oeuvres or something, and you think about a great white, think about them as like sparkly, smiley, goofy, and then you can kind of reframe how you approach something, and it can, we become our thoughts. So in some capacity, if we can control our thoughts, that can be helpful. Also, like sharks don't want to mess with us. We don't have enough meat on the bone, and unless they're really hungry. But it's interesting. Just last week there was a surfer up in Point Reyes, beautiful place, very sharky, and a white came up around 10:30 in the morning and bumped him, almost knocked him off his board. His tail flapped around and cut him open. He was okay, but he paddled like just the Energizer Bunny to get back in. But sharks, great whites, there's, as I understand it, there's about 700 in this, what they call like the local area, which is the Farallones to Año Nuevo, and so like this kind of, but there's not really that many, and they have this kind of unique migratory pattern where they go hang out somewhere between Mexico and Hawaii for like 3 months of the year, and I don't know what they're doing out there. Maybe like shooting dice and
Good place to hang out.
hanging out.
Would you rather be there when it's warmer?
Yeah, that's true. Like they know something we don't know. Yeah. But they can track these things, great white sharks, and they're I saw a video a while ago when these divers managed to get a 20-footer or something. I mean, the thing was just ridiculous, but it was it had like a net underneath, and they jammed these big water hoses right next to the mouth and the gills, because as you know, sharks, like startups, need to constantly be moving forward. And Woody Allen says that about relationships. He goes, if they're not moving forward, then they're gonna die, right? So, at any rate, just seeing like this wild beast, in person and not underwater, where it's kind of typically like it's a little bit kind of mysterious. So like to see it in our environment, and it's just really remarkable. Unchanged for like 250,000 years.
I wonder how many tons of food does a great white need to eat in a day?
That's a great question. I'm gonna ask
ChatGPT. Great idea.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how big they are, how much energy they have to take in just to maintain
They're
their
probably
weight.
so efficient. They kind of just glide, right?
Yeah, and there are certain places, I don't know if this applies to great whites, but where the movement of the water allows them, it's like kind of like a vortex of sorts, where they can go and they all hang out, and they essentially they go to sleep because the water gets pushed through their bodies, and then they get to kind of just like turn off and like chill for a little bit, which I think is kind of interesting. Also, speaking of, I don't know how we got into sharks, but this is like fun. I love Carcharodon carcharias. That's the Latin for great whites. But at any rate, when they get full bellies, like if they're like feeding on like a whale or something like that, they get very randy. I don't know if you knew this.
Boy, you really know a lot about what's going on in the
Sounds
ocean,
like
don't you?
I should take a surfing lesson from you guys, so I can fit in the cool club.
That's how cool Niki is. We're talking great whites. She's like, I'm going surfing. She's like, I'm going to surf a shark. In fact, let's see. How much does a great white eat? Do we want to take some bets on over under?
In a day, how much you eat in a day?
We'll say a week. Well, that's a week because I know they can go for like days.
Days without eating.
I would think they'd have to eat at least 5% of their body weight each week.
Yeah. Wow.
100 pounds a week.
So this says 11 tons of food per year, which is just like so much.
So divided by 52.
Yeah.
The great white shark typically eats about 11 tons of food per year, which breaks down to approximately 200 to 250 pounds of food per week.
Oh, you're pretty close.
I was 100. I was way off.
No.
Key factors.
Oh yeah. Well.
Diet. Great whites mainly consume seals, sea lions, fish, and other marine animals, focusing on calorie-dense prey to sustain their energy needs.
And occasionally like foie gras. So, but yeah, like I guess like zooming out of the marine. One more fun thing about the sharks is like when they do get their bellies full and then they get into this phase where they want to recreate or procreate, they'll do this weird thing where they'll flip onto their backs, which is so crazy. So like they're upside down, and when they do that, they're so docile. You can just like rub its belly and not that you want to like pet great whites, just generally speaking. Sounds risky.
Yeah, there's so many jokes we could have about.
Are they PG, right?
No, they're not, unfortunately.
All right. Well, we'll save those for the
next episode.
Exactly. So when we think about impact, you both have a lot of folks that look up to you and that you're able to advise and coach and mentor. Perhaps you also had some unique mentors in your life, people that really impactful or shaped your career trajectory. Well, maybe we could spend a little bit on that.
Sure, I'm happy to go. I think at least for me, I was my dad died when I was young, so I was raised by a single mother, and so she was also very strong and resourceful, and had me believe that I can do anything I put my mind to, and so
Wow.
that's a really powerful start in life.
Yeah.
To have that mentality and that confidence.
Yeah.
And from your mother.
Yeah, for sure.
And then my first job out of college, I worked for an entrepreneur. Back in those days, it was a drugstore owner, family business,
Sure.
3 drugstores.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked the cash register, and he taught me how to stock the shelves. And so basically, when there wasn't a customer, I was out, dusting the shelves and doing inventory and making sure that we had everything. So kind of looking at the world from an owner's mentality.
Yeah.
So that was a great experience, a great mentor.
That'd be an awesome name for a book, The Owner's Mentality.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Maybe we'll do that together.
We'll have ChatGPT write it for us. Yeah. What about yourself, Niki? Any mentors that?
I'd like to say that I feel I can learn something from everybody, and I'm naturally quite curious. So when I meet new people, I like to ask a lot of questions, and I feel, the world is really my teacher. So I really, Nick, I've learned so much from you. And same with Ron. I collaborate with Ron on sustainability. So there are just so many. I'm just grateful that, and also looking at all the resources in front of us. Right?
We are kind of spoiled, huh?
We are so spoiled to be living in Silicon Valley and go to, say, Silicon Zombies events. Every event you put together, you bring experts and world leaders to share knowledge. So I feel like learning is my lifelong journey, and I'll always be learning. And so there are so many mentors in my life. Learn from colleagues, friends, and I learn so much from my children. To be a parent, I call myself an angel in training every single day. So literally, I'm learning from so many people. So.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It almost, you have a great outlook on life. It's almost like a lens, like you're like a lens of, we all know those people who they'll no matter what happens, they'll complain, right? But if we think about it, misfortune breeds opportunity. So if we see this lens of reality, rather than getting frustrated or upset, we can be like, hey, here's something to fix it. Or maybe, from a time perspective, because we all get 24 hours a day, 168 hours in the week. If I'm not going to do this, maybe I know somebody that does. Or we could put these people together,
Yeah, it's so true though, Nikki. I mean, in Silicon Valley, there's so many amazing people to learn from. And with technology, I mean, you can go and listen to hours about how Mark Zuckerberg built Facebook, or how Airbnb was built, and all the trials and tribulations of those stories. And there's so much value in learning from people that have built these businesses, and a lot of their learnings are from failures.
Yeah.
And there's just we're really fortunate to have access to so much of this live in Silicon Valley, but the whole world has access to quite a bit of it on the web.
Oh yeah, the YouTube, all the podcasts, so much information. We just are limited by our own desire and time.
Yeah, and in our will, what do we want to? I think that the future will be just compute plus energy plus human will. It's interesting you mentioned Zuck. He, in fact, there's parallels between him and Brian Chesky as well. I think initially both what they were doing, and probably this more falls in Zuckerberg's bucket, but they were trying many different things at once. And then, when something does take off, in which case I think Mark Zuckerberg had hundreds of thousands of new users overnight. Face Mesh, I think it was called, or something like that. So we can try new things, and when something works, double down, and it's almost like gambling, In fact, there's this. Have you heard of Polymarket by chance? Have you heard of this platform, Polymarket?
No, tell us more.
It's it allows you to bet on any outcome, and I think so. Some guy made a ton of money betting on Trump becoming the president. So it's essentially a market, many markets, and you can create any, and then take the over under of what you want. But the second Trump got shot, he's like, okay, that's it. He won. Right. Do you remember where you both were when you first heard that there was an assassination attempt?
I think I was at work. What day of the week is that? I think I was at work.
Yeah. I don't recall the exact day, but I was at first I thought it was maybe like fake news.
Should we ask ChatGPT?
Yeah, for sure. Ask ChatGPT where were you when you?
What day of the week? What day of the week?
Yeah.
And what time?
Yeah.
Right.
It wasn't there. I think there was two attempts on his life. No.
One, the gun actually went off and he got hit.
Hit by somebody was ear. Another one, never.
Someone
touched
was lurking in the woods, and they found the person before he was able to get a shout-out.
Got it.
Well, speaking about ChatGPT, we all learn so much from ChatGPT these days. If we are not learning, those people falling behind.
Yeah, it's like shark.
It's such a great resource available 24/7.
Whoa. Okay. This is crazy. This is a perfect example of hallucination. There's no record of an assassination attempt on Donald Trump that has resulted in significant injury or harm to him. However, there have been reports of security incidents during public appearances.
That is a big mess up.
That's kind of
it was a real thing.
Yeah.
You know, he could have been killed.
Yeah, exactly.
That is.
In fact,
I'm gonna report that. I'm gonna ask for a refund of $20.
Mark, if you're listening. This kind of reminds me of like when they said show us pictures of the founding fathers, and then it showed a bunch of African Americans, so it's just kind of like woke, the woke philosophy and kind of. Why did I say Mark? This is ChatGPT. This is
Sam.
Yeah. Sorry, Mark.
Sam, I hope you're listening.
Yeah, exactly. So let's dive back into the upcoming events, because there's all sorts of folks listening, and people are always looking for cool stuff to go to where they can laugh and learn. So you said it was February 5.
February 5, Wednesday evening, at a cool place called the Bottle Shop in Redwood City, downtown.
Gotcha.
And we're going to have, after the panel discussion, we're going to be listening to a live band and with wine. So we're kicking off the new year.
Do we know which? Is it Dan Kaki in France?
No, some new rising musician, mostly Japanese musicians. They are all entrepreneurs, so they're super cool people to hang out with.
Fantastic.
You should come out to learn more.
Yeah, and where can folks learn about that, Niki?
We will be posting the event on Eventbrite, Luma, and LinkedIn shortly.
Sure.
After
So maybe
the speakers are confirmed.
Maybe for listeners out there, if there's a website by chance, or
CSPA.com for sure.
Perfect.
It will be listed. CSPA stands for California Software Professional Association, and it's a 501c3 nonprofit founded back in 1988 by some Silicon Valley legends.
Very nice. So that'll be, and then also if you wanted to connect with Niki on LinkedIn, it's NIKIGASTINEL, Niki Gastinel. And then Ron Erd, last name ERD, Echo Romeo Delta, if you're just listening. Also, I want to try a fun new segment. If you want to think of a song, we could play it, and then maybe share what that means to you. So give yourself a moment to think about that, Niki. and while Niki's thinking of what song she wants to play, Ron, tell us about the second event that's happening in March.
April 25.
April 25th.
April 25. Okay.
We're going to have at least 4 different topics that's going to go throughout the whole day. One is going to revolve around early stage climate companies and the challenges that they face and how they make it to the next stage.
I see.
And we're going to have another discussion on from later stage companies and investors in terms of how they got where how they succeeded from going from early to a later stage and what challenges they're facing.
Okay.
And then we're going to do another segment. We don't exactly know the shape or form of it from AI perspective, but that's going to definitely be AI is going to be another one of the segments that we're going to work on. And there may actually be 2 on AI because AI impacts our space in a number of different ways. One is through the innovation cycle, which is vast, and the other one is it's a major driver of new energy demand to power all this AI. And it's
that's a good point.
And it's going to transform. There's challenges with procuring the energy with the grid, with interconnecting to the grid. There's so many challenges and opportunities around that are being created in the energy system from AI.
Yeah, it is growing like faster than ever before. Not just the demand for energy, but I was listening to the All In podcast, and the guest, it wasn't Chamath, it wasn't Dave Friedberg, it wasn't Jason Calcanis, it's the new fellow who's filling in for Dave Sachs, said that the rate of innovation in 2025, even like per quarter, is going to be faster than all of 2024. So we're on like this crazy parabolic curve right now, where even a couple of years ago, like when GPT was first released, now it's like O3, and plus like the competitive landscape with Grok, it's crazy. It almost feels like a runaway train. So right now we're listening to Niki's song,
Dua Lipa song.
Dua Lipa. Sorry. Dua Lipa.
Dua Lipa. Yeah.
Okay. And so Ron, this is the song you're gonna be doing karaoke, right? For the next big event.
No, I will not be doing karaoke.
Okay. All right. We'll show up anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to do any other thing, but I think if I were to sing karaoke, I could empty the room very quickly.
Niki, this is awesome.
You like it?
Yeah.
Electricity, I think, since we're talking about sustainability.
Niki, this is a great jam. Yeah. Beautiful. The drop's coming. This is like feel good stuff. So thank you, Niki, for sharing that.
Thank you.
So in the remaining last couple minutes that we have, first of all, thank you both for this lovely conversation on Silicon Zombies BrainWaves. Again, shout out to our friends at Nicodex, who's helping with staffing and building some great or helping folks build great products and design great products. That's NECODEX. Are there any other cool companies you want to give a shout out? I mean, the energy that we get to share with folks. It's a beautiful thing, and not just with people, right? I was talking to somebody just yesterday who said that there were 2 buckets of water, and I know they've done this study with plants, but 2 buckets of water, and in the study, the guy had said a bunch of nasty things to the water, and then after a while, like they looked at it on a molecular level, and it had developed like all these like funky compounds, and then the water that they said sweet things to was like super fresh and probably delicious, I would guess. So it's like we're putting energy out there. I don't know where I was going with that, but what are some fun startups that or companies you want to give a shout out to?
So Nick, thanks for bringing that one up.
Yeah.
Actually, I heard it from a chef was telling me something like that. He will play music to the water before he put this water into the freezer. So this ice cube actually tastes better.
No way.
Because you play music to it. And recently I've been like super applied to ChatGPT, and because it has given me such great feedbacks. And when I'm sweet and polite and thank you and all that, I got way better answers from ChatGPT. So one company I do want to give a shout out to is called, it's based in South San Francisco, called Plenty. They're doing vertical farming.
Yeah.
So they use far less water and use less, these the chemicals and less space, and to produce more nutritious produce. I can't wait to try their strawberries and lettuce.
Is it PLENTI?
PLENTY.AG, like agriculture.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So
that's
give a big shout out to them.
That's amazing. I just recently heard that they're doing solar panels over agriculture, but they're doing it like 10 feet above. It's having the they're saving water because it's providing shade, and it's having a negligible effect on the amount of sunshine that it gets. So you're kind of getting two bites at the apple. No pun intended. What about yourself, Ron? Any shout outs to friends that you want to give on Zombie Radio before we wrap today?
I'm sort of debating in my head, because I want to encourage everyone who's innovating, that thinks that they can have a positive impact in the world. I want to send good energy to everybody who's doing that, rather than say, use this time to give a little bit of airtime to a few people that are building some really cool stuff that I'm involved in. But I'd rather spread the energy more broadly to have a bigger impact.
Yeah, well, that's a great answer. If you're tuning in, Ron is sending you positive vibes for you and your community.
Even if you're not tuning in.
Yeah, still sending them out there. They're still coming out.
Energy to the universe.
Ron, that's awesome, man. Okay.
You guys are amazing community builders.
That was super fun. And be sure to tune in next week on Silicon Zombies BrainWaves, where you get the best brains from the Bay to Beyond. You're listening to Pirate Cat Radio, KPCR 92.9 FM in Los Gatos, KMRT 101.9 in in Santa Cruz. Thanks so much, and check out siliconzombies.com. Till next time, be good to yourselves, be good to each other. Thanks again, everybody. Cheers. Great job, guys. That was super cool.
That was so much fun. Thank you.